The Kryll had never lost a battle. Not one. For 10,000 years, they had conquered world after world. Their warriors were bred for combat, born in labs, raised in barracks, trained from birth to kill. They felt no fear, no mercy, no doubt. They were perfect soldiers. Their ships were the fastest in the galaxy. Their weapons were the strongest. Their strategy was flawless. No species had ever defeated them in direct combat. No species had ever come close. The Kryll believed that war was simple. You found the enemy. You attacked the enemy. You destroyed the enemy. That was all. Battles were everything. Winning battles was the only thing that mattered. They had never met an enemy that disagreed. They had never met an enemy that refused to fight. Then they met humans. The Kryll discovered Earth by accident. A scout ship wandered into the solar system. The sensors picked up a small blue planet. The crew scanned for life. They found billions of humans. Soft, small, fragile. The Kryll sent a report to their commanders. New species discovered. Weak, primitive, easy prey. The Kryll fleet was sent to conquer. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, the best warriors in the galaxy. They expected an easy victory. They expected the humans to fight, to resist, to die. That was what all species did. That was what war was. The humans did not fight. The Kryll attacked a human colony on the edge of space. They expected the humans to defend it, to send ships, to fire weapons, to die with honor. The humans evacuated. They loaded their people onto transports and fled. They left the colony empty. The Kryll burned it to the ground. They won another battle. The Kryll attacked a second colony. The same thing happened. The humans left. They did not fight. They did not resist. They just left. The Kryll burned that colony too. They won another battle. The Kryll attacked a third colony. The humans left again. The Kryll were confused. They had never seen an enemy like this. An enemy that would not fight. An enemy that ran away. An enemy that seemed to have no honor. The Kryll commander, a brutal warrior named Vex, laughed. The humans are cowards, he said. They do not know how to fight. They do not know how to win. They only know how to run. We will destroy them all. One colony at a time. One battle at a time. They cannot run forever. The Kryll soldiers laughed with him. They had won 3 battles. They had lost no ships, no soldiers, no weapons. They were invincible. They were perfect. They were Kryll. But the humans were not cowards. They were not running because they were afraid. They were running because they had a plan. A plan the Kryll could not understand. A plan the Kryll had never seen before. A plan that did not involve fighting battles. Captain Eva Voss was the human commander. She was young. Her face was hard. Her eyes were cold. She had watched the Kryll burn 3 colonies. She had watched her people run. She had watched them leave their homes, their belongings, their lives. She had felt the anger burning inside her. But she had not acted. She had held back, because she knew that fighting battles was not the way to win. Fighting battles was the way to lose. The Kryll were better at battles. They had been fighting for 10,000 years. They had never lost. The humans would not beat them at their own game. They would have to play a different game. Eva gathered her officers. She stood before them in a small bunker on Earth. The walls were gray. The lights were dim. The air was heavy. The Kryll think they are winning, Eva said. They have burned 3 of our colonies. They have killed none of our soldiers. They have captured none of our ships. They think they are winning because they have won battles. They do not understand that battles are not the war. She pointed to a map of Kryll space. It showed their supply lines, their communication networks, their fuel depots, their food production, their home world. The Kryll are great at battles, Eva said. But they are terrible at everything else. They do not protect their supply lines. They do not guard their communication networks. They do not defend their fuel depots. They only know how to attack. They only know how to fight. They do not know how to protect. They do not know how to survive. She looked at her officers. Their faces were hard. Their eyes were ready. We will not fight their battles, Eva said. We will not play their game. We will end their system. We will cut their supply lines. We will destroy their communication networks. We will burn their fuel depots. We will starve their soldiers. We will make it impossible for them to fight. They will not lose a single battle. but they will lose the war. The officers nodded. They understood. They had been trained for this. Not to fight battles. To end systems. That was the human way. That was how they had survived on Earth. They had not been the strongest. They had not been the fastest. They had been the smartest. They had learned to fight not with weapons but with systems. With logistics. With strategy. With the ability to see the whole board, not just the next move. The Kryll had never faced an enemy like this. They had never faced an enemy that refused to fight. They had never faced an enemy that attacked their supply lines instead of their ships. They had never faced an enemy that played a different game. They had never faced humans. The Kryll continued their attacks. They burned more colonies. They won more battles. They laughed at the cowards who ran away. They did not notice that their fuel depots were exploding, that their communication networks were failing, that their food production was collapsing. They did not notice because they were not looking. They were too busy winning battles, too busy laughing, too busy being Kryll. But the humans were watching, waiting, planning. They had not won a single battle, but they were winning the war. And the Kryll did not even know it yet. They would learn soon enough. When their ships ran out of fuel, when their soldiers ran out of food, when their generals could not talk to each other, when their empire crumbled around them, they would learn that battles were not the war, that winning was not the same as surviving, that the humans had never been cowards. They had been patient. And patience, the Kryll would learn, was the deadliest weapon of all. The humans had been watching the Kryll for a long time. Even before the first attack, they had studied them. They had listened to their communications. They had analyzed their tactics. They had mapped their supply lines. They had learned their language, their history, their culture. The humans knew the Kryll better than the Kryll knew themselves. What they found was surprising. The Kryll were perfect warriors. They had been bred for combat. They felt no fear, no mercy, no doubt. Their ships were the fastest in the galaxy. Their weapons were the strongest. Their strategy was flawless. In a battle, they could not be beaten. But the humans also found something else. Something the Kryll had hidden. Something the Kryll did not want anyone to know. The Kryll were terrible at everything else. They did not protect their supply lines. They assumed no one would attack them. They did not guard their communication networks. They assumed no one could break them. They did not defend their fuel depots. They assumed no one would find them. They only knew how to attack. They only knew how to fight. They did not know how to protect. They did not know how to survive. The human strategy was simple. Do not fight battles you cannot win. Instead, attack what the Kryll cannot defend. Their supply lines, their communication networks, their fuel depots, their food production, their home world, their economy, their culture, everything that made the Kryll empire possible. Everything that the Kryll had forgotten to protect. Captain Eva Voss stood before her officers. The map on the wall showed Kryll space. Red dots marked their colonies. Blue lines marked their supply routes. Yellow dots marked their fuel depots. Green dots marked their food production. The Kryll had thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, but they had only a few supply lines, a few fuel depots, a few food worlds. The humans did not need to destroy the Kryll fleet. They only needed to destroy the things that fed it. The Kryll think war is about battles, Eva said. They think the side that wins the most battles wins the war. They are wrong. War is about systems. The side that destroys the other side's system wins. The Kryll have a system. Supply lines, fuel depots, food worlds, communication networks. We will destroy those things. Not their ships. Not their soldiers. The things that keep their ships flying and their soldiers fighting. She pointed to a blue line. This is their main supply route. It carries fuel and food from their home world to their fleet. If we cut this line, their fleet will starve. Their ships will stop moving. Their soldiers will stop fighting. She pointed to a yellow dot. This is their largest fuel depot. It holds enough fuel to power their fleet for a year. If we destroy it, their ships will be stranded. They will not be able to attack. They will not be able to retreat. They will be sitting targets. She pointed to a green dot. This is their main food world. It grows most of the food for their empire. If we take it, their soldiers will starve. Their people will riot. Their empire will crumble. The officers nodded. They understood. They had been trained for this. Not to fight battles. to end systems. That was the human way. The first strike was against a Kryll supply line. A small human ship, fast and stealthy, slipped through Kryll space. It found the main supply route. It planted explosives on a fuel transport. The transport exploded. The supply line was cut. The Kryll did not notice. They were too busy winning battles. The second strike was against a Kryll fuel depot. Another human ship, small and fast, found the depot. It was lightly guarded. The Kryll did not think anyone would attack it. They were wrong. The human ship fired a single missile. The depot exploded. The fire burned for days. The Kryll lost a year's worth of fuel. They did not notice. They were too busy winning battles. The third strike was against a Kryll communication hub. A team of human hackers broke into the Kryll network. They planted a virus. The virus spread. It corrupted data. It blocked messages. It made it impossible for Kryll generals to talk to each other. The Kryll did not notice. They were too busy winning battles. The Kryll continued their attacks. They burned more human colonies. They won more battles. They laughed at the cowards who ran away. They did not notice that their supply lines were cut. Their fuel was gone. Their communications were broken. They did not notice because they were not looking. They were too busy winning battles. Too busy laughing. Too busy being Kryll. But the humans noticed. They watched the Kryll empire crumble from within. Ships that could not move. Soldiers that could not communicate. Generals that could not coordinate. The Kryll were still winning battles. But they were losing the war. They just did not know it yet. Captain Eva Voss received a report. The Kryll fleet was stranded. Their ships had run out of fuel. Their soldiers had run out of food. Their generals had run out of orders. The Kryll were no longer a threat. They were just a collection of hungry, confused, frightened soldiers. The humans had not won a single battle. But they had won the war. Eva looked at the map. The red dots were still there. The Kryll still had thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. But the ships could not move. The soldiers could not fight. The war was over. Not because the humans had destroyed the Kryll. Because they had destroyed the system that kept the Kryll alive. The Kryll were great warriors, Eva said. But they forgot that warriors need fuel. They need food. They need communication. They need a system. We attacked their system. We ended their war. Not with battles. With logistics. That is the human way. She turned off the map. The war was over. The humans had won. Not a single battle. But the only battle that mattered. The war itself. And the Kryll, the unbeatable warriors, had lost. Not because they were weak. Because they were blind. They had seen only battles. They had missed the system. And the humans had shown them that systems matter more than battles. Always. Every time. Without exception. That was the lesson. And the Kryll would never forget it. Even if they did not understand it. Even if they could not believe it. Even if they spent the rest of their lives wondering how they had lost to a species that never fought. The answer was simple. The humans did not fight battles. They ended systems. And the Kryll system was over. The humans struck without warning. Not at Kryll ships. Not at Kryll soldiers. At Kryll fuel depots. Small, fast human ships slipped through Kryll space. They found the depots. They fired their missiles. The depots exploded. Fireballs lit up the darkness. The Kryll lost millions of gallons of fuel. Their ships began to run dry. The humans struck again. This time at Kryll communication hubs. Human hackers broke into the Kryll network. They planted viruses. They scrambled codes. They blocked transmissions. Kryll generals could not talk to their officers. Officers could not talk to their soldiers. The chain of command shattered. Confusion spread. The humans struck a third time. At Kryll food production. They targeted the main food worlds. They bombed farms. They poisoned crops. They destroyed storage facilities. The Kryll soldiers began to starve. Their people began to riot. Their empire began to crumble. The Kryll won every battle. They burned human colonies. They destroyed human ships. They killed human soldiers. But they were losing the war. Their ships were stranded without fuel. Their soldiers were confused without communication. Their people were hungry without food. The Kryll had never lost a battle. But they had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that refused to fight. An enemy that attacked the system instead of the soldiers. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was angry. He was confused. He was hungry. His ships had not moved in weeks. There was no fuel. His soldiers had not received orders in days. The communications were down. His people were starving. The food worlds were gone. He called for a meeting with his generals. They gathered in the dark. Their faces were pale. Their eyes were hollow. They had won every battle, but they were losing everything else. What is happening? Vex demanded. We have destroyed their colonies. We have killed their soldiers. We have won every battle. Why are we losing? His generals had no answers. They had never faced an enemy like this. They had never fought a war like this. They only knew how to fight battles. They did not know how to fight a system. A young officer spoke. Her name was Seri. She had been studying the humans. She had been watching their tactics. She had been learning their strategy. The humans are not trying to win battles, Seri said. They are trying to end our system. They do not care about our ships. They care about our fuel. They do not care about our soldiers. They care about our food. They do not care about our generals. They care about our communication. They are not fighting us. They are fighting the things that keep us alive. Vex stared at her. That is not war. War is battles. War is fighting. War is killing. Seri shook her head. That is what we thought. We were wrong. The humans have shown us a different kind of war. A war of systems. A war of logistics. A war of survival. They are not trying to beat us. They are trying to starve us. And it is working. Vex slammed his fist on the table. Then we will force them to fight. We will attack their home world. We will burn their cities. We will kill their people. They will have no choice but to face us. He sent a message to the human commander. Captain Eva Voss received it on Earth. The message was simple. Face us in battle. Fight like warriors, or we will destroy everything you love. Eva read the message. She smiled. It was a cold smile. A tired smile. A smile that had seen too much. Tell him no, she said. We do not fight battles. We end systems. The reply was sent. Vex read it. He did not understand. He had never faced an enemy that refused to fight. He had never faced an enemy that did not care about honor. He had never faced an enemy like humans. He ordered his fleet to attack Earth. But his ships had no fuel. They could not move. He ordered his soldiers to prepare for battle. But his soldiers had no food. They could not fight. He ordered his generals to coordinate the attack. But his generals had no communication. They could not talk. The Kryll fleet sat stranded in space. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. Unable to move. Unable to fight. Unable to do anything but wait. Wait for fuel that would not come. Wait for food that would not arrive. Wait for orders that would not be sent. The humans watched. They did not attack. They did not need to. The Kryll were destroying themselves. Their ships were falling apart. Their soldiers were deserting. Their generals were giving up. The empire that had never lost a battle was crumbling from within. Vex sat alone on the bridge of his flagship. He looked out at the stars. He had won every battle, but he was losing the war. He did not understand how. He did not understand why. He only knew that he was hungry, and tired, and defeated. He called for Seri. She came to the bridge. Her face was pale. Her eyes were sad. What do we do? Vex asked. Seri shook her head. I do not know. The humans have beaten us. Not with weapons. With patience. They waited. They watched. They attacked our system. We did not even notice until it was too late. Vex looked at her. They never fought a single battle. They never fired a single shot at our ships. They never killed a single one of our soldiers. And yet, we have lost. Seri nodded. That is their way. They do not fight battles. They end systems. Our system is over. The war is over. We have lost. Vex sat in silence. He thought about the humans. Their soft bodies. Their weak weapons. Their cowardly retreats. He had thought they were easy prey. He had been wrong. They were not prey. They were predators. A different kind of predator. One that did not kill with claws or teeth. One that killed with patience. With strategy. With systems. He picked up his communicator. He sent a message to Earth. We surrender. Not because we are beaten. Because we are hungry. Tired. Confused. You have won. Not a battle. A war. We do not understand how. But we accept it. The reply came quickly. Captain Eva Voss's voice was calm. We accept your surrender. We will send food. We will send fuel. We will send communication. We do not want you to suffer. We only wanted you to stop. You have stopped. That is enough. Vex read the message. He did not understand. The humans had won. They could have let the Kryll starve. They could have let them die. But they were sending food. They were sending fuel. They were sending help. They were not conquerors. They were something else. Something new. Something the Kryll had never seen before. Something human. And Vex, for the first time in his life, did not know what to think. He only knew that he was hungry, and tired, and grateful, and confused, but mostly grateful, because the humans had ended his system, and now, they were offering to build a new one. Not with battles, with bread, with hope, with something the Kryll had never known. Kindness. And that, Vex realized, was the most powerful weapon of all. The Kryll Empire began to crumble. It started slowly at first. A conquered world here, a rebellion there. The Kryll had ruled these worlds for centuries. They had crushed every uprising. They had killed every rebel. They had never lost control. But now, things were different. The Kryll soldiers were hungry. Their ships had no fuel. Their generals had no orders. The empire was falling apart, and the Kryll could do nothing to stop it. World after world rose up. The Vorth, who had been enslaved for 1,000 years, broke their chains. The Xylos, who had been silenced for centuries, raised their voices. The Xanan, who had been scattered across the galaxy, came home. They had been waiting for this moment. Waiting for the Kryll to weaken. Waiting for the humans to show them the way. The Kryll soldiers abandoned their posts. They were hungry. They were tired. They were confused. They had been bred for combat. They had been trained to fight. But they had not been trained to starve. They had not been trained to wait. They had not been trained to lose. They did not know what to do. So they did the only thing they could. They left. The Kryll generals made mistakes. Without communication, they could not coordinate. Without fuel, they could not move. Without food, they could not think. They gave conflicting orders. They sent ships to the wrong places. They left worlds undefended. The empire that had never lost a battle was losing everything. The Kryll fleet, once invincible, was now a sitting target. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. Stranded in space. Unable to move. Unable to fight. Unable to do anything but wait. The humans did not attack. They did not need to. The Kryll were destroying themselves. Commander Vex watched from the bridge of his flagship. He had not eaten in days. He had not slept in weeks. His face was gaunt. His eyes were hollow. He had won every battle. But he was losing the war. His empire was crumbling. His people were starving. His soldiers were deserting. He had nothing left. He called for Seri. She came to the bridge. She looked as tired as he felt. Her uniform was torn. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were red. What do we do? Vex asked. Seri shook her head. I do not know. The humans have beaten us. Not with weapons. With patience. We cannot fight them. We cannot find them. We cannot even see them. They are everywhere and nowhere. They are attacking our system, and we cannot stop them. Vex looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the humans were watching. Waiting. They had not fired a single shot at his ships. They had not killed a single one of his soldiers. And yet, they had won. They had won without fighting. Without killing. Without destroying. They had simply waited. And the Kryll had destroyed themselves. I will beg for mercy, Vex said. I will offer surrender. I will give them anything they want. Just make it stop. Seri nodded. She sent a message to Earth. We surrender. Unconditionally. Please. Make it stop. The reply came quickly. Captain Eva Voss's voice was calm. We accept your surrender. We will send food. We will send fuel. We will send medicine. We do not want you to suffer. We only wanted you to stop. You have stopped. That is enough. Vex read the message. He did not understand. The humans had won. They could have destroyed the Kryll. They could have let them starve. They could have watched them die. But they were sending food. They were sending fuel. They were sending help. They were not conquerors. They were not tyrants. They were not monsters. They were just people. People who had ended a war. Not with a battle. With a system. The human ships arrived within days. They carried food and fuel and medicine. They landed on Kryll worlds. They handed out supplies. They treated the wounded. They helped the hungry. They did not gloat. They did not celebrate. They did not demand thanks. They just helped. Vex met Captain Eva Voss on the surface of his home world. The sky was grey. The air was cold. The ground was hard. Eva stood before him. Her uniform was plain. Her face was calm. Her eyes were kind. Why? Vex asked. Why are you helping us? We attacked you. We killed your people. We burned your colonies. You should hate us. You should want us dead. Eva shook her head. We do not hate you. We never did. We defended ourselves. That is all. Now we want to move forward. Not backward. We have learned that war solves nothing. It only creates more war. More pain. More loss. We want to break the cycle. We want to try something new. Something human. Vex did not understand. He had never met a species like this. A species that won a war and then helped the losers. A species that had the power to destroy and chose to heal. A species that could have ruled the galaxy and chose to be kind. What will you do now? Vex asked. Will you rule us? Will you conquer us? Will you take our worlds? Eva smiled. It was a tired smile. A sad smile. A smile that had seen too much. No. We will not rule you. We will not conquer you. We will not take your worlds. We will go home. We will rebuild our cities. We will heal our wounded. We will bury our dead. We will go back to our quiet lives. Our peaceful trade. Our curious exploration. That is who we are. Not conquerors. Not tyrants. Not gods. Just people. People who want to live in peace. Vex stared at her. He did not understand. But he did not need to. He only needed to accept. The war was over. The Kryll Empire was gone. Something new was being born. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Something human. The humans left. They returned to Earth. They went back to their quiet lives. Their peaceful trade. Their curious exploration. They did not celebrate. They did not gloat. They simply ended the war. Not with a battle. With a system. And the galaxy watched. They watched the humans help the Kryll. They watched them heal the wounded. They watched them feed the hungry. They watched them show kindness to their enemies. And the galaxy learned something new. Something they had never known before. That true strength was not the ability to destroy. It was the ability to heal. And humans, the soft, small, fragile humans, had mastered it better than anyone. The Kryll had won every battle. But the humans had ended their system. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. Not the victory of weapons. The victory of systems. The victory of patience. The victory of kindness. The human victory. The only victory worth having. The galaxy was stunned. The Kryll had won every battle. Every single one. Their warriors were legends. Their ships were feared. Their empire had stood for 10,000 years. And they had been defeated by a species that never fought a single battle. The humans had not fired a shot at a Kryll ship. They had not killed a single Kryll soldier. They had simply waited. And the Kryll had fallen apart. The Galactic Council demanded an explanation. They summoned Captain Eva Voss to speak. She stood before the council chamber. Her uniform was plain. Her face was calm. Her eyes were old. She had seen too much. Done too much. Lost too much. But she was not afraid. She had never been afraid. Not of the Kryll. Not of the council. Not of anyone. You have asked me to explain, Eva said. I will explain. You fight battles. We end systems. That is the difference. The council was silent. They did not understand. A battle is a single event, Eva continued. Two sides meet. They fight. One wins. One loses. The battle ends. But the war continues. The Kryll were great at battles. They won every battle. But they forgot that battles are just pieces of a larger game. They forgot about the system. The supply lines. The fuel depots. The food worlds. The communication networks. The things that keep an empire alive. They forgot to protect those things. They only knew how to attack. They only knew how to fight. She walked to the center of the chamber. We played the larger game, Eva said. We did not attack their ships. We attacked their fuel. We did not attack their soldiers. We attacked their food. We did not attack their generals. We attacked their communication. We did not fight battles. We ended their system. And when the system ended, the empire ended. Not because we were stronger, because we were smarter. The council was silent for a long time. They had never heard anything like this. They had never imagined anything like this. They had thought war was about battles, about ships and weapons and soldiers. They had never thought about fuel depots and food worlds and supply lines. They had never thought about systems. The Xylo's representative spoke. Her voice was quiet. You have shown us something new. A different way to fight. A way without battles. Without killing. Without destruction. We do not fully understand it, but we see its power. Eva nodded. You do not have to understand. You do not have to agree. You do not have to like it, but you cannot ignore it. The Kryll ignored it. They thought only about battles. They thought only about winning. They forgot about everything else. And they lost everything. She looked around the chamber. Her eyes were tired. We did not want this war. We tried to avoid it. We evacuated our colonies. We retreated. We hid. We hoped the Kryll would stop. They did not. They kept coming. They kept attacking. They kept killing. So we ended their system. Not because we wanted to. Because we had to. That is the difference between us and the Kryll. They fought for conquest. We fought for survival. They wanted to win. We wanted to live. The council did not know what to say. They had never met a species like this. A species that won without fighting. That defeated an empire without destroying it. That showed mercy to its enemies. That chose kindness over cruelty. That ended systems instead of battles. What will you do now? Asked the Vorth representative. Will you use this power against others? Will you end our systems if we cross you? Eva shook her head. No. We will go back to our quiet lives. Our peaceful trade. Our curious exploration. We do not want to end systems. We want to build them. We want to grow food and raise children and tell stories. We want to live. That is all. That is everything. She turned to leave. Then she stopped. She looked back at the council. The Kryll won every battle, she said. But they lost the war. Because they only saw the battles. They did not see the system. Do not make the same mistake. Look at the whole board. Not just the next move. That is the lesson. That is the human way. Not battles. Systems. Remember that. Or you will end up like the Kryll. Not destroyed. But ended. She left the chamber. No one stopped her. No one spoke. The council sat in silence, trying to understand what they had heard. The humans had shown them a new way. A way without battles. Without killing. Without destruction. A way that was smarter. More efficient. More human. The galaxy would never be the same. Not because the humans had conquered anyone. Because they had taught something new. Something valuable. Something that would save lives and end wars and build peace. Not with weapons. With systems. With patience. With wisdom. With the ability to see the whole board, not just the next move. The Kryll had won every battle. But the humans had ended their system. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. Not the victory of weapons. The victory of systems. The victory of patience. The victory of wisdom. The human victory. The only victory worth having. The galaxy had learned something new that day. Something that would change everything. Not because the humans were stronger. Because they were smarter. And smart, the galaxy now knew, was better than strong. Always. Every time. Without exception. That was the lesson. That was the gift. That was the human way. Not battles. Systems. And the galaxy would never forget.